In this edition of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, we catch up with a man that there's not enough hours in the day. 24 hours just doesn't cut it this time of year. Duke Tobin, Director of Player Personnel for the Cincinnati Bengals. Tell you, with the injuries on the edge rushers are going down like flies. Tell you, it's a never-ending process. Evaluating, trying to get players to come to Cincinnati and backfill that roster. Hopefully, they're over the hump, and the injury hex is over with. The black cloud moves on, maybe moves to another franchise, although I don't wish injury or ill will on any franchise. You want to see all players have productive seasons and careers. And Duke Tobin has done a great job for the Bengals for a few years. We're going to catch up with him, and I think you're going to like what you hear. Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, and our special guest today, Director of Player Personnel for the Cincinnati Bengals, none other than Duke Tobin. It's been a busy time for you here. Have you gotten any sleep?
Yeah, I try to get some sleep. You know, it's hard to make good decisions if you're tired, and so we grind pretty good, and then we try to get a little sleep and come back and grind some more. But scouts have done a great job of getting everybody across the league graded and giving us real good input on who might be guys that can help our team out a little bit.
Is that a big part of the process as the final cut down date approaches? I mean, you go from 80 players to 53 players. That's a lot of guys out on the street that you have to have a handle on. I mean, it's boom, all of a sudden here they all are. So is that like a daily grind for your department of guys to just make sure that they've got a dossier as such on every player?
Yeah, we try to look at every game. We try to look at every player that's on the bubble. Some of the high-level players we know aren't going to be released. We don't spend a ton of time, filling out reports and grading them. But the guys that are on the bubble, the back-end roster guys, we have a full report on those guys and try to project them into our scheme and our system and put them in order. And we're evaluating our team constantly, and we're evaluating the options that are out there constantly.
So how big of a factor is it if it's a player that you end up getting in free agency or somebody that happens upon the waiver wire for whatever reason? How big a factor is it that they played well against the Cincinnati Bengals when you guys matched up against that player? Is that a tiebreaker of sorts or not really?
Well, it's a live look where a lot of times we're not getting live looks. And so a live look is always reassuring. But really the film is so good now. We're at the point where we, trust what we see on that.
Can understand that for sure. Let's talk about the draft in some way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, in a couple of cases, it was like a non-football injury with Hubert with the pectoral injury, and then Osai obviously going on injury reserve for the year. But every single rookie made the team in some way, shape, or form. And then you had college free agents, making your roster again as well. So obviously, you kind of put your bat on the ball in terms of evaluating players as they came in, trying to make this football team in 2021.
Yeah, the young guys are developing well, and that's what you want to see. You want to see guys that come in and progress. They're all going to start behind the curve. It's a new league for them. It's a new level of competition for them, and you want to see guys that are progressing and starting to grow their role and find kind of their footing in this league. And we were hit pretty hard on the defensive end category. We've had three guys that we were hopefully counting on to provide us some snaps. So we've had to backfill a little bit there, and we feel like we have. But you don't like to continually get hit at the same position, and it happened to us there. But we feel good about the options, and we feel good about the young guys that made the team, that they can produce as well.
Yeah, it's incredible. Over a 2-year period in the 20 draft and the 21 draft, 4 edge rush guys were taken, and 3 of them aren't even available right now in various periods of time, due to injury. And man, you just can't control that. I mean, that's the biggest variable obviously that there is, but the year before in 2020, it was the interior defensive line. It always seems like there's a position group that gets just decimated by injury. It's crazy.
Well, we've had our share of injuries, knock on wood. Hopefully this year goes a little better and we can keep guys up and going. It's always a benefit to the wins and losses if you've got your mainline guys up and going. And with this week off before the season kicks off, I think we'll hit that Minnesota game as healthy as we can be.
Yeah, that's a big factor, having that bye week as such on a league-wide basis. How does that help also when you pick guys up, to backfill because of injury or whatever the case may be, guys that were on the waiver wire, and you bring them or trade for them or whatever, and you bring them in and they have 2 weeks to get ready, for the first game rather than a week. How big is that extra week in their transition period? How big a factor do you think that might be?
I think it is a pretty good transition help. It's not. It still doesn't get you fully up to speed. 2 weeks. There's players' days off that they're not going to be around here, so they're not here every day. But it gives you a little more time to get a comfort level with them, and for them to get a comfort level in what we're doing and how we're doing it. But that's not the main factor in bringing guys in. We want to bring guys in that we think have the traits to help us, and they've got to come in and earn the opportunity to get on the field for us. But the two guys we added at the cut, we feel like have the traits to come in and play roles for us, and hopefully it'll be early.
Give us a little scouting report on the guys that you just picked up. Nick McCloud at cornerback and Wyatt Ray, the edge rush guy. Give us a little scouting report on those two guys.
Yeah, Wyatt, we were searching defensive ends. We've been hit there with injuries, and we felt Wyatt really offered a good combination of both pass rush and ability to set the edge and play with his hands. Impressed with what he did in the preseason. I think he's at the point in his career where he has a chance to blossom. He's seen enough in the league, and I think he understands the NFL game. And so far, so good with him. Impressive guy so far. And then the young corner, that's just a tip of the hat to the scouts who pull him off the tape and say, hey, this guy has traits and he played well, and we think we can develop this guy. And really at the cut down, that's your chance to bring a guy in and see what he's all about. And we had an opportunity and a spot to do that. And we've also, have a couple injuries at corner that we needed, some guys to be coming on as we go. It's a position that's struggled to stay healthy over the years around the league, but especially with us.
Right. The soft tissue stuff, the hamstrings. I mean, it seems to be an issue. Obviously, kid played at Notre Dame, runs a 4.37 40. A couple of pretty good things to have on your resume for sure, I guess, huh?
Coming from a good defense and performed well. So it looked like he got to Buffalo, pick that system up really quickly and was able to apply the techniques and the skills that he has, on the field. And so far, so good with him.
Duke, how tough is it to make a trade in the National Football League?
There's a lot of talk. There's far more trade talk than actual trades, but they can come together. You've got to have two parties that are willing, that are not just kicking the tires, but actually are serious about it. And when that comes together, normally you can find some common ground and try to get a win-win for both teams, especially when it's a player-for-player trade. Those are mostly need-based driven trades. And then when it's a player for a draft pick, sometimes that's when you might think you have excess instead of and don't want to just have to cut the guy. But there's a lot more talk than actual action in the trade business, but there is some action.
Take us through how long a process was the trade that you consummated with the New York Giants. I mean, it's not just pick the phone up and boom, it happens. What's the process like normally in a situation like that?
Each one's a little different. Some are, you have an awareness from over a course of the the entire preseason that a team is interested in somebody you have, and then you have to decide whether you're interested in forgoing that and getting something else. Other times it does happen really quickly. Other times towards the end of the cut down process, trades can get done in one call. But most trades are over the course of 2 or 3 calls, and some much longer than that, where the interest is there. You're just deciding whether you want to take advantage of it or not.
So BJ Hill, give us a little scouting report on him.
Yeah, he came in. He was a 3rd-round pick. Played right away. Had a really good first year. They're very good on the defensive line. Very good in the interior defensive line, and he found a role in a good group and really provided what we're looking for, which is a guy to be in the rotation, take good snaps. We think he can give us some pass rush inside. He's very good against the run. Again, he's a young player, but an accomplished player in the league at a spot that we felt like we needed to backfill a little bit.
I know you're still hard at work, potentially tweaking the roster. How long before it kind of like settles in and you're thinking, this will probably be the 53 guys that we're dealing with for a while? Are you already at that point, or is it still?
We're getting close to that point, but it's never there. I mean, it'll be week 14, and we'll still be grinding on it. And so, with 16 practice squad spots, you want to try to find the best guys available, both that can come in and play right away and that can develop for you long term in your program. So it's never done. It's starting to settle down a little bit. A lot of the players that we had regard for re-signed with their practice squad, like our guys did, and so we feel good that we were able to get a lot of our guys back. But we're always looking around the league, and that process won't stop anytime soon.
So a 16-man practice squad due to COVID protocols again this year. When you're formulating a practice squad of that size, I mean that's a significant process as well in terms of making sure you can backfill, with numbers to your 53 in game day, 46-man roster. You're playing all those numbers games. How
you want to have guys ultimately enough guys that can come in and fill in on game day for you immediately, and you also want to take advantage of the developmental prospects that you have on your team that might not be ready now, but you want for a year from now, 2 years from now. And so there's a balancing act. You don't want all developmental prospects, and you don't want all fill-in guys. You want a balance, and we think we got a pretty good balance of guys for the future and guys for the immediate.
Thaddeus Moss made the practice squad, and of course Joe Burrow was very supportive of Thaddeus Moss as a former teammate and good friend. And we've been hammered, wow, Thaddeus Moss, how can he not make the 53? But he's on the practice squad, and a guy that obviously has some talents and somebody that you feel like you can develop.
Yeah, we don't keep guys around here that we don't believe in any shape. And so the fact that he's around here means we believe in him, like the other 15 guys on the practice squad. We believe in them. Those guys are guys that we would consider keeping on our team, and guys that we consider playing at any point, this year. So we're happy to have him back, and we're happy to have the other guys back as well.
It's like people can identify with building a puzzle. You're with your child and you have a 53-piece puzzle, and you hope that one of those pieces, if it does have a little bit of a malady, that it can be glued or taped back together, and it's a small piece of the puzzle where it really doesn't hurt the overall picture. What you don't want to have happen is one of the big pieces of the puzzle, is you can't repair very well, and it changes the whole picture. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at when you're putting together a 53-man, moving roster like you're dealing with. I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Well, there's a strategy to it. You want to do it in a way that gives you the best chance to keep all the guys that you want. And again, with the numbers the way they are, we were able to keep a large portion of the guys that we felt have a chance to help us in this league. And so, again, with 16 guys, we were happy that the ones that we wanted all wanted to come back and want to continue the process with us. And that's a good thing.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.